hello, sir.
There's no way.
I guarantee you he will. But I didn't think of him. Hey, it's good to see you.
Can I ask you a question, Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Aren't you in the middle of a conversation?
No.
Yes, we were talking about my shirt actually, which we were going to ask you.
Would you be caught dead in that T-shirt he's wearing, in that ridiculous, it looks like a third grader printed it Bobby Fischer T-shirt?
Oh, it's a Bobby Fischer. Yeah, I see it is Bobby Fischer. Yeah.
Now I'm not asking you if you like Bobby Fischer. I'm asking you if you'd be caught dead in that ridiculous.
It
too
is a little
small.
odd. It's not. It's in the world of current T-shirts, that's not. You'd not find that on the list.
No.
It's probably not the most aesthetically pleasing.
No, the design quality is not quite there.
Not at all.
Do you play,
Right.
do you play
So
chess?
two different pictures. I do, but my son started beating me when he was 10, so I realized I was.
Well, are you lousy or is he a prodigy?
Little of both.
Okay.
A little of both.
If a kid, there's some kids they're just masters by the time they're like 9 years old, and it's just like
Yeah. When he was like 14 or 15, he was done and went on to other things. But he did like trophies and stuff. But they give you trophies if you come in 10th place. You know, that's like a trophy city at these like kids tournaments. But
how do you feel about that?
I hate saying in my day, you got a trophy for winning. One of my I was doing a crossword puzzle once for the New York Times, and one of the clues was to come in second. And you're looking, well, is that to win, play, show? What's the word you need for that? And you know what the answer was? To lose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
That's incredible.
Right? So if you start giving awards for not coming in first, then one could ask, what's your incentive for improving or getting better at all? So, but that's sort of old school talking.
Yeah.
Times change and people get trophies for participating. And who am I to say, had I not been a kid now, that I wouldn't totally delight in that? So
I'm sure you'd like it, but maybe you wouldn't be motivated to be great.
Yeah,
when just being good is enough.
I've got it. Yeah, I've got to say, I don't know that motivates anybody.
Right.
If you're rewarded for just being there.
Or does it make people
for having a pulse?
People who might not shine more likely to shine because they feel like they're not going to lose, and then they wind up doing it. I don't know what the thinking is. I don't have kids. But I don't know.
Yeah. No. So I try not to bring old school into new school just because it's, that's what my parents did back when I was a kid. Right. There's always some grown-up telling you that you're not, you don't relate. So
everybody thinks it's different now, though, because it makes sense in your head, whereas your parents' thing didn't. So back in their day, that didn't make sense. But back in your day, it made sense. So that's how we should.
Right. There's a line in West Side Story where some adult is telling the hoodlums, when I was your age, and the reply was, you were never our age.
Yeah.
That was a great line.
You seem like a competitive guy. Are you a competitive guy? No?
No. I mean, not against other people. I'm competitive with myself. If I do something and I think I can do it better, I'll try to do it better. Or if there are people who have a talent or expressed in whatever way that talent is, I will aspire to that talent. But it's not to beat them. It's just to improve myself. So
you won't get mad when you see them doing well.
I say, whoa, that's good. I want to figure out how to do that.
I don't know about that.
No.
I saw you and Matt Sarah wrestling around. And I could see that. I was right there for that. I could see that little shine of.
No, of course you were like co-hosting that show. Yeah, we were wrestling on the ground. So in wrestling, here's right. So I used to wrestle, right, and that's like the purest of sports. You can't blame a piece of equipment. You can't blame a fellow team member for fumbling the ball.
Right.
It is you and your opponent. And anytime I lost, I say, wow, that was a good move. Whoa. I'll try not to lose with that move again.
Right.
But again, it's not so that I can divide and conquer. No, it's just, can I get better?
What was your record as a wrestler?
I was undefeated. Wait. Can we finish the sentence? Excuse me.
All right.
I was undefeated in high school.
Oh, okay.
And captain of my team. But mind you, that was the Bronx High School of Science.
Sure.
So,
just beating up a bunch of dorks.
no, but you still wrestle other schools.
Oh, okay.
But then in college, I had actually a losing record until my senior year. And so, by the way, I was really good at rowing. And in college, the rowing was like the sport of the gods. And I had the choice of being one of the best rowers or just being sort of an average or even slightly below average wrestler. But I way more enjoyed wrestling as a contest, and I stuck with that.
I did that yesterday in the gym rowing. Let me ask you a question. First of all, you have very long arms, so that probably is helpful for that.
That very much helps because you want the oar in the water for the longest arc you possibly can.
But when you're rowing like that, how long can you do that for? Because literally, a minute and 40 or a minute and 50 seconds, and I'm like wiped out. Like when you guys are training.
Well,
to
you're a slug. You're not an athlete.
Yeah. You are not the measure of aerobic fitness.
That's a good point. I probably would have used different terminology than
Why
slug.
are you the benchmark here against which all aerobic conditioning is measured?
Well, yeah, that's probably a fair point. I was just kind of curious
It's not
as to
really
how
going how you thought it would go.
No, it's not. I figured the good Dr. Tyson and I would chat about athletics.
No, I'll tell you. So the rowing stroke is a highly thought about thing in a rowing scull or in the sweeps. And so the time it takes you to pull through the water, that needs to be less than the time it takes you to recover. Otherwise, your body's not going to recover from having done that stroke. And if you try to speed up your stroke rate by rushing forward to get the oar back in the water, you're not taking advantage of your capacity to recover from the stroke. So it's a whoosh, and then you slowly move forward.
To recover.
And then you slowly move forward. Now, you can speed up that entire process, but the ratio of the time it takes you to slide forward to the time your oar in the water should remain such that you can recover on each stroke. And if you do that, then you can really punch this out for the full 10,000 meters.
How far is 10,000 meters? I don't know how far that
It's
is.
10,000 meters.
I mean, how many miles? Is that a mile or
It's
no?
like a 10K run.
10K run?
10K.
I don't know 10K either.
You're not good
My
at
father
it.
used to jog. Yeah, I don't. Believe it or not, I was not an athlete.
It's probably like 6 or 7 miles,
Yeah,
right?
6.2 miles.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's a lot. That's a lot of rowing.
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
Too much, right? It's
So it's
enough.
good, and it's great, and it's, as some of the rowing facilities describe that want you to row rather than cycle for your aerobics, for your cardio. Again, that's a new term, cardio. Cardio.
Yeah.
Cardio. So they'll say it's every muscle, every stroke.
So when you
So this is the celebration of this. If you're on a treadmill, what are you doing for your arms? Nothing. They're dangling there unless you sort of carry weights on the treadmill. On a bicycle, what are you doing? Is your lower back in that one? I don't know. I don't think so. Are your shoulders in it? No.
Unless you're just tense the whole time.
Unless you're tense the whole time.
That's what I do. Anything I do, I just do it
Just
very tense.
gripping the handlebars.
That's how I do radio. I can do it like
Yeah.
this, and it's a workout.
it's very uncomfortable to work with.
So rowing, it's essentially every stroke, every muscle.
When you were undefeated and you lost the first time, did it affect you at all?
No.
Oh, you were okay with it?
Why you keep thinking I have some psychological issues?
Honestly, no, I don't. I was just curious.
No. I like I said, losing is the indication that I should get better if I need to and want to, and I would see how I lost.
Could I always
Was the
find
person quicker than I was? Did they know more moves? Was it muscle memory?
Right.
Or would I have to think it through? And are they stronger? I knew they were not more limber because I was pretty well stretched. I was a really stretched guy. I could do full splits and things. So it wasn't a matter of limber, and I was also pretty strong, except my height at 6'2", at my weight, I wrestled at 190 pounds. Other wrestlers at my weight were almost always shorter than I was. 6 feet, 5'10", 5'9". And since we're exactly the same weight, if you run the numbers on this, they will have bigger muscles than I will because we're the same weight and they're shorter.
Right.
And the strength of a muscle goes as the cross-sectional area of the muscle itself. So they would be stronger than I was in any given moment. So I have to be quicker or cleverer.
Right.
And this is what I'd have to work on. But that's... that in that way you improve. In fact, people who are the best, I don't know if they have motivation to improve if you're just always beating everybody.
Well, that's the reason I asked you about losing, because I always feel there's so much pressure with an undefeated record. Like when people go undefeated for a while,
There
it's like,
normally would be pressure because you're the one to beat and everyone's after you.
Yeah.
Yes. Normally, I didn't. It's not the kind of life I led.
It's also very healthy, though, to be like, to look at a loss, and instead of looking at a guy and being like, oh, how do I get as good as him? I'm never going to be as good as him. And you bring it back to yourself and be like, what are the specific skills that lost me?
I thought that's what everybody did until I saw people get really pissed off when they lost.
Uh-huh.
And I said, can't you just honor how much better the other person was than you? Isn't that...
So is that when you realized that science was for you? Because you are not like the most emotional guy on the planet. That you're like, just facts and well, this is what you would do.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
And if you lost, get better.
It's all math. Yeah.
Right. Well, it helps, although there's still quite a bit of emotion in science. If you make a discovery, you're jumping through the roof. I mean, there's not like we are emotionless.
Right.
But when it comes to...
Eureka!
That almost never happens, by the way.
Really?
Just FYI.
People don't say Eureka?
you
No.
don't want to know when I yell it.
TMI right there. Right, let
Look
that
what
one
I've
go.
created.
So Isaac Asimov once wrote that it's not Eureka that people say, that scientists say. It's That's odd.
Right.
That's it.
Because it's like, I didn't see that.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
What is that? And that's where you learn. That's where you realize something is inconsistent with your expectations. You get a result from the experiment that nobody thought was going to happen. And you say, that's odd.
And then you start to get a rush when you're like, oh my God, this is.
Yeah, and then you get a rush, and then you focus on that, and you perform another experiment. You call up others, and so there's hardly ever a eureka moment. Plus, I know movies like this, but they're not getting it. The Midnight Oil lone genius solving the greatest problem in the world. Most problems today are collaborative, and they don't make as tight a story that is told.
Right.
So there's stories in science that I think people should know about, but no one's going to do them because they don't talk about the one lone genius who's tortured.
One good-looking hero with glasses on to be like, look what he did.
You know, it's like VH1 when they did the rock documentaries, and there's that trademark phrase. And then they were addicted to drugs until they were caught. You know, there's always some point where otherwise they're not even doing the story on you.
Right.
If you were married, had kids, 2-car garage, and that was your rock home, no.
There's no behind the music for you.
You don't see it behind the music on Kenny Rogers or somebody who's just had a nice career.
Yeah.
It's always the one-hit guy who all of a sudden did heroin and went to jail. Like, that's the interesting story.
Right.
I have a specific space question for you about Jupiter. Because I'm writing a book.
I'm tickled when you were you were up at night with a question waiting to hand me the next day.
Yes.
This is great.
I do, because I'm writing a book on Jupiter called, 10 Hours a Rotation.
Yes.
What's the pressure? No, kidding. It's a lot of little Jupiter jokes.
Very little.
Emphasis on little jokes. Just I don't want to let that go by.
Sure.
Earth takes 24 hours to rotate once, as we all know. Okay, actually takes 23 hours and 56 minutes, but that detail is not important in this conversation. Just later on another show, I'll tell you.
We're losing minutes.
We take 20. Earth rotates once every 23 hours and 56 minutes and 4 seconds. But so just call it 24 hours, and so. It's the rotation that gives us the energy to circulate storms with the ferocity they have. It's called the Coriolis Force. And I tweeted once about the effect of the Coriolis Force on a kick, on a winning kick in the overtime of a football game. Because it'll affect anything that is airborne, like clouds moving north-south. So there was a kicker whose kick was deflected 1/3 of an inch to the right and ended up going in. And it went in, and they said, we just got a lucky bounce off the left post. No, Earth helped that one. So I tweeted that people, freaked out. It was, made the Cincinnati headlines and everything, because it was the Bengals, I think, that won that game. But anyhow, so on Jupiter, it is bigger, has higher gravity, and rotates once in 10 hours. So you want to talk about the ferocity of a Coriolis force. Jupiter's got it. And Jupiter has a storm. It's this huge red spot that's on its surface, and we call it Jupiter's red spot. Just so that's how we roll.
Yeah,
that's how we roll.
Yeah.
Spots on the sun, we call them sunspots.
Right.
See, we're into one-syllable communication in my field.
As opposed to Jim's penis spots.
Oh, I don't have any spots. I only have a spot. That's all it will fit.
No, he would say, I don't have that many spots. That red spot is a storm, and it's been raging for 300 years.
My question about Jupiter, when you're going, I know that we sent a probe in, and they know it's going to get crushed as it gets closer. But
that happened at Saturn.
Oh, was it on Saturn? Oh, I thought it was on Jupiter.
Saturn.
We didn't send a probe to Jupiter?
We did, but it's not crashing it. It's Saturn.
Oh, okay.
The news of recent weeks is Saturn.
Oh, no, this is a long time ago. This is a while ago. I thought there was one.
Oh, yeah, okay. We might put Galileo in there. Galileo was the name of a probe that went to Jupiter.
Yeah, and there was something that it went down into the Jupiter atmosphere, and they took measurements until it got crushed.
Yeah.
But if you could get into some kind of a contraption that would let you go lower on Jupiter, what would you see as you went further down?
Well, it's
into
just
the atmosphere?
gas almost all the way down. And it gets denser and denser and denser, and it gets hotter and hotter and hotter. And and we think we know what the composition of Jupiter is, but it's nice to know in detail. This layer, this layer, this layer, the exact rate that happens. We can model it, but to have the data is always better than what your expectations might be.
But you couldn't land on it. There's nowhere to send anything that could land on
There'll be a point where the density of the gas, because it's so dense, has the same sort of density as you, for example, and then you'll just sort of float there, buoyant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But there's no surface as we know it.
Yeah, well, if you go far, It probably has a rocky. No. The pressures are so great that hydrogen becomes metallic. I mean, it's real. I don't know if you remember your chemistry class. Hydrogen appeared on both the left and the right side of the periodic table. I don't know if you remember this. Yeah, because hydrogen has properties of metals under certain conditions, such as very high pressures, such as what you'd get in the center of Jupiter. So no, it's gas is the active thing here, and so. But I thought you were talking about Cassini. Cassini, like days ago.
Oh no.
Crashed into actually vaporized into Saturn.
How far down does it get before it's
That
finished?
I don't know, but I do know that it was going 75,000 miles an hour, and all that energy has to go somewhere as the gas slows it down. And where does it go? It goes back into the craft itself. That would happen even with asteroids coming through any atmosphere. They slow down, and the kinetic energy pumps back into the object. It heats up, and it can heat up catastrophically so that asteroids coming to Earth will just explode. But in that case, it vaporized, and every atom in Cassini's craft ended up becoming part of Saturn. And I tweeted, Cassini, VIP, vaporize in peace. Yeah,
That's good.
Is there any truth to the fact when like ships come back in, like the one that came in through the atmosphere, was it the Endeavor? Which one?
Shuttle Endeavor.
No, which one blew up at 200,000 feet because the heat shield was messed up? It was a couple of years ago. It came apart coming back in.
Oh, you're talking about Columbia.
Columbia.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there there's always that thing they say if you don't get the angle right when you're coming back in, that you can in a way kind of bounce off. Is that true?
Yeah, that can happen. Yeah, if the angle's too shallow. But no, not with space shuttles, because space shuttles are already in orbit around Earth. We're talking about coming back from the moon. If you come back from the moon, you have the right trajectory so that you can get pulled into the down through the atmosphere. If you come a little too shallow, you'll just skim off the atmosphere and keep going, like a skimmed rock. You throw a rock at the right angle, at the right shape across the surface of water. The rock is way denser than water, and yet you can just pop off the top and keep skimming. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So you come in at one angle, you burn, and if you come in at the other angle, you bounce off.
Yeah, but the burning is that you have heat shields, so you protect yourself. That's the whole point of the heat shield.
I'm just amazed they figured that out on the Apollo, though, like on the where they were doing like hand calculations. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, plus they had a slide rule. You had it made in the shade with a slide.
slide.
In my high school, I'm old enough to have been formally trained on slide rules.
I never had a slide rule. I did have a T-square.
T-square. Oh, so you were good at mechanical drawing.
Oh, is that what that was for?
Yeah.
I have no idea what that was.
I had a scientific calculator, but you could put Tetris on it. So
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a good
Okay,
time.
so that's really what it was for.
It was a good time,
In the day.
do you think we should be spending more?
Well, I gotta tell you. So in my high school, so I went to a nerdy high school, and so if the bigger your slide rule, it'd be on like your holster.
The bigger the slide rule, the more of a
my
man.
slide rule had a leather.
Where'd you get one that big? I didn't know they made them that big.
Yeah, I still have it. It's cool.
Do you think that we should be sending more people into space and walking on the moon and doing all that stuff that we used to do? Because you see all these like space movies about people going into space, and there seems to be all this great stuff going on, but you never hear about people actually. Human beings.
Yeah, a little part of me
exploring
worries
space
that Hollywood is so good at pretending we're in space that we're just okay with that.
Right.
Right,
like we saw Matthew McConaughey behind the bookshelf. We know how space
behind
works.
the bookshelf, poking books. Like, how did he know the first letter of each book from the other side? I always wondered that.
Well, that's probably something you learn in space. We haven't been up
If you
there.
looked at the other side of a row of books, how do you know what the hell books you're pushing through? That was one of my questions about the movie.
It's a great question.
Yeah. But so
Because he wasn't seeing the binder, like the page part, he was seeing the other side.
right, and so how's he going to know how to like do Morse code with the books?
What
It
a
is
great thing to bring up when you're watching with like your wife or a friend or something. Like as this emotional climax comes forward, how would you know what books?
I'm sorry. This is what I think about.
I like
I'm
the
sorry.
movie, but let's be honest. Did he say Murph enough times? We got it. Murph, we got it.
But if you look at in The Martian,
Right.
the representation of his challenges and his travails, you felt like you were there.
Yes.
And if Hollywood perfects that, I wonder if our urges to want to do that ourselves would evaporate. But as opposed to vaporize, that's a different
deal.
Just different deal.
Yeah.
So I will not tell people what they should want to do. Here it is. There's a quote from Antoine Saint-Exupéry, who's a French author, aviator from 100 years ago. He was the first real writer who flew. So he got to describe what
Right.
it's like among the clouds for the first time in a compelling way. And he's credited with this quote. He said, if you want to build a ship, do not gather people, have them find wood, and show them tools. No, instead, teach them to yearn for the immensity of the sea.
Right. So people need to want to see space
Exactly.
to get up there.
To get up there. And then you'll say, yeah, let's do this. Let's fund NASA. Let's elect an official who can do this. And all the rest of that just comes in behind it.
Right.
And if you're starting, well, how do you do this? And I don't know. And it'll never get done.
So you need people to just be
To wanna
together
be
saying,
there.
we want to be in space.
Right. And when Kennedy said, let's put a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth before the decade is out, he didn't say, let us build an agency to do this and have it and let us contract with it. It's not what he said.
Right.
It's not what he said.
I have a question about your show. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I want to. You're promoting the show. It's Star Talk. It's season 4 on Nat Geo.
I can't believe it's season 4. I can't even believe it.
It's amazing. And-
Star Trek did not last 4 seasons. Okay? Just FYI.
Well, Star Talk's better.
Star Trek went 3 seasons, was canceled. Okay?
And some of your guests, you had an amazing guest list, and we talked before you got here about Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I love Kareem. How was he as a guest?
Oh, he's good. First, he's smart as all get
He
out.
is,
Have you ever seen him on Jeopardy? The guy's out of control.
I don't watch Jeopardy.
I watch Jeopardy. It's great.
He said that like he's proud of this. I don't watch
No,
Jeopardy.
I'm a Family Feud guy. Sometimes the answers are funny.
I'm a Wheel of Fortune guy. Don't ever say proudly that I'm not a Jeopardy guy.
No, I watch it in the cab, but they make it's like a literacy test in the cab. You can't get them wrong in the cab. You're sitting in a car.
That's right. Yeah.
You ever sit there though when the game show block comes on?
My family was on Family Feud. Did you see it?
No.
See, you can't be that much of a fan.
Celebrity
Da-da!
Family Feud?
Celebrity Family Feud.
Oh.
Da-da!
How'd you guys
Busted.
do? How'd you do?
Busted.
I didn't watch it.
No, don't tell me I'm a Family Feud fan. Apparently not.
Well,
Because I
I'm not
remember
a.
last time we were talking about Match Game, and I was like, that was not your lane to be in. Match Game. Like you do well in so many other things.
Well, I tried.
I know.
tried. I'm
Steve
invited
Harvey.
back, by the way, to Match
Match Game? I'll
Apparently,
watch.
I didn't mess up that badly. But yeah, but we were on Family Feud. Oh yeah, there you go.
How did you guys do?
We won.
I hope
There it
so.
is.
Yeah. I did the final round with my son, who in the
center there.
Yeah.
Who are you up
What a
against?
glorious head of hair.
Yeah. So we were up against who's the guy, the former guy who played for the Lakers.
Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson, Michael Cooper, Kurt Rambis, James Worthy,
Kobe Bryant.
No,
Kareem
keep going. That's him
Abdul-Jabbar.
right there.
Shaq.
That's him.
Rick Fox?
So, yeah, Rick Fox. Rick Fox and his
Nailed
family.
it.
Right. Very handsome family. His sister was like a Euro swimsuit model, and he was a model after. So we were all there, and we were duking it out. He has a son who's a total nerd.
Yeah.
Who was also on it, and so we were sharing some nerd moments. But anyhow, so we won Family Feud, and we won, and you win money for a charity.
Is there anything that gives you less faith in humanity than watching Jeopardy and then watching Wheel of Fortune come on after
That
it?
is an interesting pair of shows.
Wheel of Fortune has got to be the stupidest show I've ever seen in my life. I started watching these shows
Yeah,
recently.
but it's in his 80th season.
I can't believe it.
You can't.
Like I watch Jeopardy and I'm like really entertained by it nowadays. Like I really enjoy watching Jeopardy. And then Wheel of Fortune comes on and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I love a good Wheel of Fortune.
They're idiots.
No.
They're all morons.
Here's the thing that happened. There was an episode of Jeopardy with Kareem Jabbar where the question was, which country in Europe has the largest land area? Okay? And he answered, what was it? I think he answered Sweden. Okay? Although it was a mistake. It's not what he wanted to. He knew what he wanted. He just said the wrong word. That's wrong in any measure. Okay? Someone else said it was Spain or France. I forgot which one. But he then said, but wait a minute. They have sovereignty over Greenland. And if you add Greenland to that, bada bing! So what he meant to say was Denmark. So he got it wrong, but for the wrong reason. I mean, he knew his answer was Denmark. He misspoke.
But Jeopardy got it wrong too.
Jeopardy got
because
it
they
wrong
didn't-
too. Exactly.
So what
That's
did they do
amazing.
about it?
Exactly, and I forgot how they played that out. I think they should have given it to him because he knew all about Greenland as a. And you know how I remembered? I reminded myself that Greenland is Denmark's sovereign because in the movie Arrival, one of the Arrival ships
Right.
was in Greenland, and they had flags where all the ships were, and the Danish flag was there in Greenland. And I was reminded of this fact.
In Arrival,
Greenland is all ice.
was that the one with the giant egg?
Yes.
I actually liked that. That was a weird, interesting
Arrival. A little
movie.
weird
The
and a
ink
little.
blot movie, yeah. Right? Where
Yeah.
the aliens were talking in looking like ink blots.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That kind of that made some sense to me.
And the alien was a septipod.
Right.
Yeah, seven. So here's one thing I wondered about that. There they are making symbols on the glass.
Right.
And here we are interpreting them. How do we know it's not backwards?
Oh, because they're making it on the glass.
They're making it on the glass.
So
How do
to
we know?
them-
Yeah, that never came up in the movie.
Well, you have to assume though that they understand. If they understand all that and they can let a nuclear weapon go off in the ship without a problem, and they have control of it, you have to figure they figured that out. Some things you have to
They
assume
didn't make
they
a point
figured.
of it. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
You're assuming stuff, and I'm not. I don't make those kind of assumptions.
Well, here's how it might have been.
Would have been a great moment in the movie, like, oh, it was backwards.
Exactly. They could have. They
And
could have
then you-
exploited that
Right,
fact.
Right.
Well,
You're
They
right.
could have said, "Oh, it's not that this is happening before that. It's happening the other way."
This
Oh
is
my
on
God.
glass.
Well, time
yeah.
was kind of weird for them in circular,
circular, yeah.
so she may have learned how to read it at some point. It was time was very interestingly
Right, but if it's
talked about.
backwards, it could change the arrow of time,
Oh,
even if
okay.
time still remains circular. That's all I'm saying.
So you
That's all.
enjoy.
So my point is, so he's smart as all get
Yes,
out.
he is.
And he writes a column. He's written books.
Great
He's
writer.
been in movies, and in Star Talk, it's kind of a geek safe space.
Yeah.
So you learn with our celebrity guests, if they've got some geek in them, we're going to find it. And we're going to reveal it. So I find out, yes, he's been in a couple of movies. You know, he was in Airplane as
Sure.
the pilot. He was also in one of the Bruce Lee films, Bruce
Game
Lee's
of
last
Death.
film, Game of Death. And so he said he just really wanted to be an actor, like professionally. I said, dude, you're like 10 feet tall. Who are you going to play? He said, no, he always wanted to be Chewbacca. Of course! That's who you... Yes!
That makes perfect
That
sense.
makes perfect sense.
Perfect sense.
What an odd thing to want when you're the highest scorer in NBA history. I just want to
wanna
go.
No, he was done being the highest scorer. Not that he wanted to do that instead of basketball.
okay.
No, when he got out. When he got out.
You know,
Did you
it's-
find any geekiness in Katy Perry?
And Katy Perry. So Katy Perry's another one of the guests. And Katy Perry, we learn, she left school at 15 with a GED, never went to college. And for many people like that, they're kind of done learning, and now they just have their life, whatever that life is. Well, she's got a life, but folded into that is a deep curiosity for everything she does not yet know. And this is a curiosity that we have as childhood, as in our childhood, and it is a curiosity that scientists have because we never lost it from childhood. And there she is, a pop singer, one of the poppest singers there is, and she is wondering, I'm there, and she knows I know some stuff, and she said, well, tell me about this, and how does math matter in the universe, and how, and why? And it turned out to be a session with her asking me questions. And so, yes, it was a celebration of curiosity in the face of someone who had an entire other career, and her career is not even about that.
Right.
But that's what it is.
But
And
as a person, she had that.
as a person, she had that. And one of her songs sounded to me like she wanted to have sex with an alien. So I had to get into that.
Did she?
Find you got to see the show to find
Oh,
out.
I gotta see.
A question for you too, because I was thinking that as you were talking about how she was asking you questions, like you're great because people just want to ask you stuff because you know about things that none of us do. So you're kind of the go-to guy in any situation. Who's like that for you? Like when you're
Oh, yeah, I got
out,
people.
but who is somebody that you just love sitting there and listening to?
Yeah,
because
back to your earlier point. I love nothing more than sitting around people who know more stuff than I do.
Right.
And then I can just learn.
Like, I mean,
Right? It's
who-
not,
who's
I
an
know
ex-
more than you, therefore
no,
I...
right. Who's an example of that?
So almost any one of my professional astrophysics colleagues knows more about multiple things than I do. And anytime I'm in their presence, we're talking about it. I've got I've got a research scientist in my department who's like an expert in sort of energy systems and energy delivery and energy production. And we're doing some renovations in our home, and I think I'm getting solar panels. He said, do this and consider this, and the net metering does this, and so it's a whole conversation. What kind of pumps and inverse pumps and this. So almost any one of my colleagues, because you look at me and you think I'm some kind of exception.
Magic Man.
Except, and sometimes I wear my funky ties, with planets and moons on
Your
it.
space
And
vest on
space
Family
vest.
Feud.
You say, oh, that's really cool.
You notice that?
No, I did.
If you come to one of our astrophysics conferences, that's camouflage.
They'll have it.
Yeah, you can't say, "Oh, show me, give me the guy who had a tie." No, we all wearing a tie. We all. So, and by the way, That's a general truth about people who are academics. We have devoted our lives to learning something new every single day. And so, but most people don't even know an academic. Who's an academic? It's a professor who's an expert, who teaches, who's at a university. Most people don't even know an academic. So this is why when research happens in universities, and we tell you people are warming the earth, it's time to listen.
Right.
All right. This information comes from research centers, and people devoted their lives to learning something tomorrow that we did not know today.
Well, somebody's asking on the phone as you say that. Has family in Puerto Rico? Does Neil know why all these storms are happening? And does that tie in with what you're saying?
Well, some of it's just bad luck in terms of the luck of the draw, because storms, there's a sort of a randomness to them. It's odd, however, that, by the way, if you look at storms are named alphabetically. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know.
You didn't know. Okay, so they go right down the alphabet and they switch between girl names and boy names. All right, so that what they name tropical depressions that become tropical storms and occasionally become hurricanes. Look at the names of all the recent hurricanes. They're all consecutive in the alphabet. So not a one of them only ended life as a tropical storm. They all amped up and became hurricanes. And you're more likely to have strong hurricanes when you have a warmer atmosphere and a hotter planet, because the ocean is where that energy is coming from. And the energy rises up, and warm, moist, unstable air is the recipe for storms. And then you get the Coriolis Force spinning them around, and you drive the intensity of these storms. So yeah, I mean, this is a shot across our bow.
How much time do you think the planet's got left?
I'd say about 20 minutes.
Oh, cool.
No, just to the end of this interview. Earth is pissed off.
Right.
If you want to look at it in those terms. And so it's not how long Earth has. Earth will be here. Earth will survive everything. I mean, there was a time when all carbon that is currently underground was not underground, and it was in the atmosphere, and there was no ice anywhere on Earth. It was in the time of the dinosaurs. There were no ice caps, nothing. We could return to that era, but if we did, then you melt all the ice in Greenland. That'd be great for Denmark, because then they get more land. But you melt all the ice in Greenland and on Antarctica. And if you do that, then the water levels will rise and reach the bottom elbow of the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty's left elbow.
Really?
That's how high up the water would be. So it's a different world. You lose every single city that 10,000 years of civilization created on the water's edge in the service of commerce and transportation.
Say we don't change anything. How long do you think we have left on the planet?
As humans, if we don't kill ourselves with total nuclear Holocaust exchange, or invent some kind of nanobot that
just
infects us with
altogether.
virus, or replaces us, decides it doesn't need us.
That's what's going to happen.
Because we're a virus on Earth.
It may happen,
virus.
It may happen.
What am I imitating? You're a virus.
My doctor.
After you looked at the spots on your penis. You're a virus.
What is it?
It's from The Matrix. Come on now.
Of course.
Come on now.
The
interrogation on the
Was that a Lawrence
chair.
Fishburne impression?
No, that was the other guy, the
I don't
Smith.
remember.
You're a virus.
I haven't seen it in many,
what's
many
his name?
years.
The Smith's name.
Agent Smith.
No, the actor's name.
Oh, I don't know the actor's name.
I do not
Yeah,
remember.
you guys will get him up.
You should see that movie.
Yeah, Hugo Weaving.
Yes.
Hugo Weaving. And he's also the voice of V in
Series?
what's that?
V for Vendetta?
V for Vendetta.
Yes.
Yeah. It's his voice. Probably his body. It wouldn't have to have been, but because it wasn't James Earl Jones in the costume of
Darth Vader.
Right.
What a gig he had, though.
What
God,
a gig!
They brought him back, though, for this last one. And James's soul, you could tell. Remember the prequel that they shot? The great Darth Vader scene? But you could tell they still used James Earl Jones, but he sounds a little bit. I mean, again, he's 40 years ago.
Yeah.
He's had an amazing career so far, but.
You sound different today than you did 40 years ago.
That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
That's what I mean. You could kind of tell it was still the same actor, but a little older.
You see that movie? That movie Mother is a complete metaphor for what man is doing to Earth and destroying it, and how
Yeah. So, but like I said, Earth will survive us. So don't worry about the Earth. You have to worry about life on Earth, human life on Earth, and the average life expectancy of a mammal species is a couple of million years, and we're actually very early in that time arc. Our species, we've been sort of anatomically human for a few 100,000 years.
So we still got a lot of time.
Cro-Magnon, still a lot of time in front of us if we don't kill ourselves.
Do you feel that we'll be able to, like a guy like
So by the way, you know our greatest advantage is that we are living everywhere on Earth. So generally, catastrophes are regional, local, and so...
So we'll just hope they wipe out them, and we're still okay.
I'm hoping it doesn't wipe out anybody, but I'd rather think that way about this. But
do you think that with computers and things, I know we have to wrap soon too, like because Ray Kurzweil thinks that we're going to get immortality through merging with computers and uploading our. I don't think it's crazy either. Do you think there will be a way to upload like who and what we are into hard drives, consciousness into hard drives to extend life?
Yes. Realize we no longer use hard drives. We have you know.
Well, yeah, whatever they use to
digital media. Just want to move you forward.
Oh no, I use hard drives. I don't do the cloud ever.
No, not the cloud. I'm talking about the
solid state drive.
Solid state drive.
Yeah, but let's just say onto those things.
So here, I have a rebuttal to that.
Okay.
It's a mild rebuttal, but I'm sticking with it. All right. If I upload my consciousness to a computer, and the computer's sitting here on the table, okay, and tomorrow I go to the Bahamas, the computer didn't go to the Bahamas, so it's not really me. I continue to glean life experience. I meet people that the computer didn't. I go swimming and feel the cold water that the computer didn't.
But what if in Wi-Fi, or what if in the connection becomes so good that instantly, like almost like going out live on YouTube or whatever, instantly you're communicating with the computer, so it's picking up every second of experience.
Okay, so then it's not. Then the computer is not just me, independent of me. It's part of me. Fine. I'll give you that.
But then all of a sudden...
So that means you're saying I'd have little, some kind of electronics in my brain telepathically communicating with the computer.
Sure, and then say you're killed in a boating accident, and then they can build a new you through your DNA immediately. Then they can just upload everything or download everything from that computer to you. So maybe you lose the last couple of experiences, but most of your life is there.
But that's still not you. That's a you for everybody else, right? That's not like
well,
I wouldn't know that.
No, in principle, if you could reproduce every single chemical neurosynaptic configuration in your brain, which itself contains all your memories, in principle, you could just reconstruct a person.
But that's still a reconstructed version of you. It's not me.
Why would... No, it's not you.
Like,
it's
I'm
me.
not immortal. It's just Sam
But you wouldn't know.
Here.
You feel the same.
Yeah. Why would you even know the difference?
Yeah, you'd know it because they told you.
In fact, they could remove from your memory the 10 minutes you didn't exist while it took it to build you, and you wouldn't even know that it happened.
So it'd be like sleeping.
Like in the Prestige. You see that movie?
No,
The Prestige?
I didn't see
It was very good. You'd probably like it.
Yeah,
Okay.
nobody knows which one's the... Well, I don't want to spoil it. Well, nobody
Yeah,
knows.
but what it also means, in principle, it can make an exact copy of you.
Right.
Yeah. And
They'd probably figure that out.
But what's interesting to me is twins are exact copies of one another, yet they don't share each other's conscience. Consciousness, and so
usually one has like a lazy eye or something.
That's always a little bit weird to me. Now, of course, they have different fingerprints, but the fingerprints were not established at the point that the genetic code was split. That happens later.
They do sometimes have that thing where like one has an itch and the other feels it, right? Like, isn't there, or is that made up?
No.
That's
if they're looking at each other, there's something called mirror neurons. Do you know about those?
No.
I do, but tell him.
So mirror neurons is it's suspected that this is very important with regard to empathy. So you're there and you scratch your left arm. When I see that, I say, "Gee, I wonder if my arm scratches."
Right.
And I start mirroring what you're doing. And it's a sense that I'm feeling what you are experiencing.
So that's not a telepathic thing. That's
it's not.
Based on observation.
No, you have to observe it.
Yeah.
You have to observe it. And hence mirror. It's in the mirror. And so if something's happening to you, and I have no sense of what's happening to you, then how could I possibly empathize with your circumstances?
And this kind of ties in with
yawns.
Like a yawn, yes. Yeah. This ties in with a question. I know we have to wrap with you,
but because someone yawns, hey, I got a yawn too.
I think it's contagious.
What is this thing about? And I know it's traveling faster than the speed of light, where there's one, like an atom somewhere, and or whatever it is, and it responds the same way as something. So the information had to travel faster than the speed of light.
So you're talking about coupled particles.
Okay.
And so. You can, in quantum mechanics, you can take two particles that know about each other's existence, separate them, and they still know about each other's existence. And if you measure one, it instantly tells you what the other one is doing, even though at unlimited speed, it could tell you exactly what the other particle is doing. And so it's a feature of quantum physics that people are trying to exploit for faster than light communication. I don't think it's exploitable. But we've got top people working on it, so we'll see.
I've told you, I don't believe the whole speed of light thing is as fast as where we're going to go, but you and I differ on that. All right. They're telling us you have to go.
It's at speed of light. It's not just a good idea, it's the law.